We are going to slash the corporate tax rate to level the playing field and the business tax rate for all businesses to level the playing field for companies like this. We've got to get these tax rates down. Because when we're taxing our businesses at much, much higher tax rates than our foreign competitors are taxing theirs, we're not going to win in that exchange.
House Speaker Paul Ryan last week as he toured the Massachusetts New Balance tennis shoe factory discussing tax reform, or sneaker, I guess, depending on what part of the country you're from. Welcome back to the program. I'm Dana Lash. Now, while Speaker Ryan rallies the tax plan with businesses like New Balance, small business owners have launched a campaign to make sure that their voices are heard. A nationwide blitz led by former House Speaker Newt Gingrich is focusing on convincing lawmakers to focus on income tax relief. The lobbying group says that merchants want tax relief more urgently than a repeal of Obamacare. They say it benefits their business better so that they can invest in their companies or pay down debt. Let's bring in our next guest, Dan Mitchell of the Cato Institute, to talk about this. Dan, always so good to see you. Everybody's focusing on health care, but business owners, Dan, say they need help now and they want tax reform now. I kind of agree with them. I think they really should be focusing on this. Why not do both?
Well, it would be great to have both Obamacare repeal and fundamental tax reform. But of course, since Republicans are screwing up the Obamacare issue, what's really left for them is to try to do something on taxes to help the economy. And the story behind the story here is that Republicans correctly understand we better cut our corporate tax rate since we're so out of whack with the rest of the world.
Right.
However, most small businesses don't pay the corporate tax. They file through what's called Schedule C on the individual income tax. So if all you're doing is cutting corporate taxes, small businesses, they don't get any presents under the Christmas tree. So Newt Gingrich and the small business community are saying, okay, yeah, by all means, cut the corporate tax, but don't forget us as well.
That's huge because so many small and medium-sized businesses, that's how they file. And it really disproportionately this would affect them more so than anything else, which makes sense. And I don't think it also helps to have Paul Ryan out there. He's still pushing, because this is the cornerstone for him, that border adjustment tax. And you and I have talked about this before. Dan, I'm actually kind of shocked that this is still included.
I'm not a fan of the border adjustment tax either. I view it as a pre-value added tax. That's
right.
what I worry it would eventually become. And the last thing we should do is copy the failed welfare states of Europe. But I'm always very fair to Paul Ryan and the rest of the House Republicans. They only are including that provision to finance some of the good tax cuts in their plan. So they're doing something that I think is wrong, but their hearts are in the right place. And you want to know why they're so concerned about financing? Because if you're cutting the individual income tax to help small businesses, guess what? You're cutting the individual income tax for people who aren't small businesses. Unless you put in all sorts of IRS rules saying, well, you can only get this lower income tax rate if you have employees and you meet 5 tests or 10 tests, because they don't want to cut taxes for hedge fund guys or something like that at the same time. So it really is a complicated mess, and it's all driven by the fact that our government is too big and there's so much of a demand for tax revenue. So the best of all worlds would be, what a shocker. Let's slow down the growth of government spending to give us a lot more room for tax relief.
That is a shocker. It would be even more amazing if we just simplified the tax code altogether, Dan, and then just had people, instead of withholding, write checks to the Department of Treasury so they could see how much Washington, D.C. was getting from them.
Well, that's what Hong Kong does. There is no withholding in Hong Kong. So twice a year, you write a check to the government, and believe me, in that kind of system, you know how much government is costing you. It becomes a very, very painful thing. And that may account for the fact that in Hong Kong, government is still small. They have a simple low-rate flat tax. I have 2 fantasies, Dana, and these are clean ones. Don't worry, you don't have to hit the mute button. My first fantasy is, let's replace the 76,000-page mess that we have now with a flat tax. But ultimately, my real fantasy is going back to what we had before 1913, a federal government that was so small we had no income tax whatsoever. And guess what? During the 1800s, early 1900s, when we had no income tax and government was small, that's when we became a rich country.
That's right. I think we just became best friends, Dan.
Oh, how sweet.
I really do. No, but you're right. That's when government had revenues coming out of their ears. They didn't know what to do because people had more capital with which to go and actually spend it in the market. The government benefited from that. Maybe we can baby step with this initiative towards that. I hate to see it, as you said. You feel that their hearts are in the right place, but there's some unintended consequences of that border adjustment tax. Of course, the VAT, that notwithstanding, that's a big one. In terms of this small business initiative, I think Gingrich is a good person to have on this, and I hope that they're going to be successful. They said that they're looking to get some sort of tax reform done before or in time for Thanksgiving, which I think would be a great holiday present. Do you think that's feasible with this Congress?
Everything is possible, but they need to somehow figure out how to get on the same page, because you have Donald Trump with a big tax cut, which is great, but it's so big that it's not realistic. Then you have the Senate basically doing nothing, sort of their historical tradition. And then you have the House with this border adjustment tax. And when you have the three major chess pieces on the board for Republicans not sort of being on the same page, if I can mix my metaphors, it makes it very, very difficult to move forward. And so hopefully what Newt Gingrich is doing, and then these people from the small business community, hopefully that'll be a kick in the you-know-what to get them on the same page. But I'm a little bit worried that we're going to go through all of 2017, and when the year ends, we'll still have this monstrosity of Obamacare, which is destroying private insurance, and we'll still have this monstrosity of a tax code, which is, I can't even begin to say how much of a millstone around the neck of the American economy it is.
Exactly. I hope that they're able to get that done, because I hope because the markets are going to react negatively to that, and then going into the new year, not good at all. They have a lot of work ahead of them. I mean, this is why people voted for them, right? They have both chambers in the White House. Come on, let's get it done. Dan Mitchell, always so good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.